Welcome to the Supplier Diversity and Inclusion Podcast by Fips Consulting. In this podcast, I speak with international guests who share their experience on supplier diversity and inclusion. Today, I speak with Lushentha Naidoo, Managing Director of ESDP, and Paloma Valles Marin, ESDP Senior Program Manager. ESDP stands for European Supplier Diversity Program. Lushentha and Paloma, it's great having you on my podcast.
Thank you so much for having us, Andrea. I know we've been talking about doing this for so long, and life is so crazy. We finally managed to get together.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. It took a while, but I think it's perfect timing since we had reached our historic milestone last week with the launch of certification. So it's perfectly timed.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're going to talk about this a bit later on in the podcast. Exciting news there. So I know you're both traveling a lot, and I just want to know, where are you talking to me from today?
I'm based in London, in the UK.
And I'm based in Amsterdam at our office in the center of Amsterdam.
Cool, thank you. So we got UK, we got the Netherlands, and already kind of bringing ESDP as the newest organization in Europe, bringing together, empowering ethnic minority businesses and bringing them together with corporates in Europe. So before we go into the exciting recent announcements at ESDP, can you quickly tell us, how did it all started? So what has been happening the past years?
Absolutely.
Paloma, maybe you want to share.
Yes, absolutely. I would be happy to. So for context, and for those of you who might be new to this exciting world of supplier diversity, your ESDP was born as a pilot project out of managed and delivered by MSD UK. So MSD UK is the UK's only advocacy organization that certifies ethnic minority businesses. It was established in 2006 as a not-for-profit company, and over, almost 20 years now has been working with a range of global and British firms and hundreds and hundreds of ethnic minority businesses. So over the years, there was always conversation starting and demand from our network to expand into Europe. I think conversations started back as all the way to 2017. Perhaps, Andrea, you might remember when you were in your past life, when you were on the corporate side of things, when these conversations started happening. And eventually in 2022, the European Expansion Project was launched. So ESDP stood for European Supplier Diversity Pilot. A little bit confusing, we have been told, because it doesn't make reference to the fact that we focus solely on ethnic minority businesses. Nonetheless, that's the name that we're sticking through even now on our official organization, which is registered in the Netherlands. So in 2022, I came on as the project lead to partner and team up with our CEO at the time, Mayank Shah, and a range of incredible and very generous corporates who were our founding members. So our founding members that actually made this pilot project possible were Accenture, AstraZeneca, BMS, CBRE, Enterprise, Dow Chemicals, EY, Johnson & Johnson, Meta, Unilever, AB InBev, Sanofi, and IBM. So with their very kind strategic advisory and financial support, we were able to get this groundbreaking 2-year pilot project off the ground. So I'll pause there. I know I've said a lot, and perhaps you can let me know what areas you would like me to deep dive a little bit more into.
Thank you so much, Paloma. So it really goes a couple of years back, and I think that's also kind of showing it's not just a quick fix, right? It's not something that's built up in a couple of months. So it's really been a pilot and then turn into kind of a project, and now it's been launched officially last week. So maybe real quick, can you tell me, so it came out of MSD UK, but now you're total separate organization. So maybe Lushentha, you can quickly explain. So it's nothing really related to MSD UK. You're two separate organizations, right?
Exactly. So Paloma laid down the groundwork for success of setting up ESDP as a foundation, as a stichting in the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. So that's when I was brought on board. I joined around September last year, just around the conference time. And we knew because the pilot project was such a huge success that we had the backing of the corporates. We created a fantastic network and community of ethnic minority businesses in the pilot countries. And we were ready to get going and set everything up. So I was brought on a bit earlier. We registered in October last year as a foundation. And as of the 1st of January 2024, we opened up for corporate membership. And that was pretty much quite a milestone, because it had all been a dream, an idea, and now actually setting things in motion. So yes, we're still affiliated with MSD. We'll always be partners with MSD UK. As you can see, we partner them with the program that's running. They took them 17 years to set this up. We're obviously going to take the best practices from them, so it doesn't take 17 years to set up ESDP in Europe. So we'll always be partners, but legally we're separate entities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned the pilot countries. So which were the pilot countries that you were looking at initially?
Initially, given the demand from the corporates and pairing that with extensive research that we did in partnership with the Open Network, and perhaps we can link the research reports as well to once we share this episode, where we found we gathered some incredible findings around the contribution of ethnic minorities in Europe. Where are they? Who are they? What services and what goods are they providing? So the initial countries of the pilot were Ireland, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, and Sweden. As time went by, and bear in mind this was a 2-year pilot, the resources were limited, as always with not-for-profits. We ended up prioritizing really France, Netherlands, Germany, and Sweden. And that's where we really identified some amazing country leads that were able to be our feet in the ground, that could really tap into the local communities and help us expand our reach. However, as time went by, and also we always kept an open channel of communication with our corporates, and as the pilot progressed, we realized that Sweden perhaps wasn't getting the traction that we hoped for. So we really honed down on France, the Netherlands, and Germany, because that's where we saw the most opportunity, at least for now that we're getting started. We want to make sure we start small, really get it right, and then scale. So at the moment now that we've transitioned into a full-on registered organization in the Netherlands, our focus and the countries where we currently are investing time, resource, and offering the certification service for ethnic minority-owned businesses is in France, the Netherlands, and Germany.
Okay. So, bringing us to the great, exciting news and announcements that you did last week or mid-April. So, what was going on? Tell us more. It was all exciting. I mean, I know what was going on, but I want to hear it from you that you had such an exciting day.
Yeah, it was a very long process to get there. During the pilot, I think I mentioned earlier, one of our key deliverables for our founders and for our funding members and for all our stakeholders, a big milestone was achieving certification for ethnic minorities in Europe. And that was, we had a lot of pushback. There was a lot of question marks around the legality of it when it comes to processing and requesting data around ethnicity. It's very sensitive. All of us are very aware of the history of Europe and the different countries, right? So it was tricky and we needed to make sure we got it right. So we collaborated with a number of law firms until we finally found where we found there was the most synergy. So that was with Hogan Lovells. The pro bono arm was incredible, and I have to give a shout out here to Aissatou Silla. She's a qualified lawyer sitting in the France office with Hogan Lovells, and she really stepped up and made it all possible, making sure she took into account every single potential, caveat or obstacle that we could face, and design our certification process in a way that would make it possible. So it took months and months.
As Paloma said last week at the event, it was like birthing a baby for her.
Absolutely.
But just to add to that, I think, just to make clear, we are a non-profit. The people that I've come across on this journey are the people that have a similar purpose. Ashiala Sula is one of those people. We were incredibly lucky that we crossed paths with her. Great work for Paloma to finding her as our pro bono lawyer. And you could tell she did everything she could to make this possible, because we constantly get the challenges from our members, especially in the US. It's like, why does it take so long? And Europe, to some people's surprise, is not a country, it's a continent. We have to check the laws for each and every country. So we did German law, French law, Dutch law, EU law. And that's why we're taking it step by step. Do these 3 countries, see how it goes, and we open up for more countries. To do the whole of Europe in one go would then take us 3 years. So we said, let's start here. Let's take the learnings and then get going with the other countries as per demand. And it's been a challenge. It's been a very rewarding one. I think last week was Paloma and I been so busy with getting it done and operational, and to see and feel the emotions in the room last week was absolutely rewarding, because I took this job to be honestly of service, and that was my reward last week. It's just having tangible impact on society, because ESDP, we're here to close the socioeconomic gap, and I'm hoping that, so certification picks up and leads that way in Europe.
Thank you, Lushentha. And I think you bring up a very, very good point, right? Europe is not a country. Europe has over 50 countries, right? So it's not just one law and one culture and one ethnic minority. Yeah. So it's a real challenge. And I totally see how it all evolved. And Paloma, you mentioned the open report before, and we will make sure we put the link into the podcast information that people have access. So, but, starting with Germany, France, and Netherlands, and that was the big thing going on last week, right? So you launched certification for these 3 countries. And I guess I wish I would have been there, but it was a very emotional day, as I also seen on all the posts and everything. So how is your forecast for the next couple of months and years, kind of short and midterm? What are your plans, and also what do you wish for?
We've been so focused to making sure ESDP is set up. We have a value offering package. So we've created a database of identified, self-registered, and now certified EMBs. So this is now closing on over close to 500, correct, Paloma? If I combine them all. And that was the big work to be done. Now that we have the online platform for certification, we have that value offering, and now it's about grow it. But, Europe has a different job to be done versus the US and UK because it's taken a while because it's a very, very sensitive topic in Europe when you talk about ethnicity, intersectionality. So we have to focus on doing education and awareness because when people think diversity in Europe, it's still very gender focused. People are very scared to get uncomfortable, but I always believe you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. So a lot of education, we have to work with our advocates out there, and they are out there. The more people come to our events, like always after every event, people are like, can I volunteer? This is amazing. Can we be part of this? So it's growing that network. It's growing that community, getting the corporate members on board. And I can tell you, since we launched certification, quite a few corporates knocking on the door like, can we join now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been quite interesting. Building the communities in the Netherlands, France, Germany. I think we have quite a well-established network now. In the Netherlands, it's making a name in the countries that we want to proceed to next. So, and also now get going with events because this is where business happens, right? It's in the networking part. So those are the overview. I won't get into too much details. I don't know if you want to add, Paloma.
No, yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail. I think for me, it's that education piece is crucial for Europe and educating corporates, perhaps not necessarily smaller, but more European focused businesses that perhaps haven't been as exposed to this industry and the value that it brings, and educating them on that value and getting them on board in this adventure to drive change. And continue to nurture that community that's already, the groundwork is there, but continue to nurture it and continue to deliver value for them and to multiply it, get access to more networks that can just, have a sort of domino effect that can help us further our reach and impact as many lives as possible. Yeah.
And I think the corporates, this is where we need their support, is with their procurement teams, help us access to the AMBs. And we know most big corporates have their ESG targets, so this is where we can help them. But it's spreading the word within internal. If you can find a supplier diversity lead, but you really need that whole organization to really drive it to make impact.
I'm also very excited, I think, for the opportunity of partnering closer with other advocacy networks. I think now that we are done with establishing ourselves from an operational standpoint and being, independent legal entity in the Netherlands, we're so excited to pick up these conversations with other advocacy networks around Europe and really establish a close mutual relationship.
Totally. And I think we're all on the same page there, right? I mean, we all know that supplier diversity and inclusion can have so much impact, but it's just a topic that is not very much known in Europe yet, or also maybe in the UK a bit more than on mainland Europe. So it's also my mission, right? And also one of the reasons I have the podcast to talk about it and how we can really have big impact, and how D&I is something that should be looked at in a holistic view and not just internally, because there's so many companies buying so much, right? If they would just take a big closer look of who they engage with, we could create so much more equality, or move the needle maybe a little bit further into towards equality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think together everyone is stronger and will have a bigger impact to build equity.
Right. And also, something that I also totally sign is it's not just a quick fix. It's not something that is done with having somebody volunteering, doing some supplier diversity actions in a company, but it's really something that should be supported and also led by many employees, if not the whole company, to really have successful efforts in supplier diversity. So if I was an ethnic minority-owned business in Germany, France, or the Netherlands, how could I engage with you? How would I know that I qualify?
You would be able to go on our website, which we're going to link when we go live with this episode, esdp-org.eu, and we have a section specific for EMBs where we say, join us in EMB. In that link, they'll be able to see the two different options on how they can join us. There's the free registration and then the certification, which comes at a fee. And it's very crystal clear on our site in terms of what are the benefits and what is the criteria that you need to fit in order to be eligible to join us. So your business must be a for-profit enterprise. You must be physically located. The business must be physically located and registered in the Netherlands or Germany or France. Please note, mailbox presences does not count. Your business must be at least 51% owned, managed, and controlled by one or more person from an ethnic minority / non-Western background. And once they fill in the questionnaire, they'll be able to select from a very vast drop down of ethnicities, including the option to add other if they happen to not fulfill one of the ones in our drop down. However, we've done a very thorough job as trying to be as inclusive as possible. And then lastly, that individual has to have either citizenship or a valid visa or a resident permit that allows them to live and work and own a business in the country where they're applying for certification. So it's a lot verbally, but it's all laid out on our website. So I would encourage them to go there.
And just to explain what happens and why we do this is just to make sure that there's no fronting of the business, that it's truly owned and controlled by the ethnic minority business. So that's the check that we go and do. So we go into like the KVK in the Netherlands, the Chamber of Commerce. We go and check that it is a legitimate business owned by its owner. They have control of this business. So that's why corporates put the trust in us to certify this business. So it's quite a thorough check that we do. And this is what is the global standard that's done in the UK, that's done in the US, that we've now implemented here. And the application form, I can tell you, if you have all your documents ready, it should take you about 30 minutes to complete.
Yeah, so I think there is no holding back of registering for free, especially, right? And I'm sure there are some corporates who would ask for certification, and it's always good if you have certification. But I think, just to be visible at first, it would make great sense that you just register yourself and then see what happens, because it can really change things around.
Yeah. And it's more than just certification. You also get preference to come to our events. Example, we're partnering with MSD UK for their London conference in September, 18 and 19 September. They'll get discounts to that, preference to our events. And obviously, like in our dashboard, we separate certified, self-registered, and identified. And corporates would first go to the certified businesses. So I know we still have to do a lot of education around it in Europe, but I think it landed now, especially at the event that we had last week, because we were sponsored by Accenture. Then we explained how important certification is to Accenture, and it's the same for the big corporates. So it's a benefit to you.
Yeah, interesting. I just did a post about on LinkedIn about certification and non-certification. So, but I totally see where you're coming from. That corporates, you need some kind of evidence that you really have that spend with diverse, minority-owned, women-owned, underrepresented groups-owned businesses. But there are lots and lots of out there who don't even know about supplier diversity. And I think this is where it really is good to also look at non-certified, and maybe, if you as corporate identify them, you can always lead them to an ESDP and say, look, this is what we would like you to do.
Okay.
No, we've had some beautiful success stories doing that, from some referrals from some incredible, inspiring large businesses like Altrad, for example, who is a huge supplier to a lot of our corporates, and they had no idea about this. And they have, been introduced to us by our corporate members, very happily joined. They are certified now with us. They came to our event. And not only that, but we're also helping them think about how can they implement supplier diversity into their business. So it is a really special space that we're in.
Yeah. And I just want to add is that ESDP will help you. We're closing the equity gap, right? So we want to make sure that everyone has a fair chance of business. Everyone starts at the same starting line. We're just getting the businesses to that starting line. The rest is up to them. It doesn't just assume that just because you're certified, you're going to get a preference for business. No, we will help you develop, do with your pictures, but the rest is up to you. So there is no positive discrimination. It's just the connecting the two with that bridge. And I can tell you, I mean, I'm ex-Unilever, so at the end of the day, it's always about profits, and businesses want the best suppliers for their business. So, it's up to them at the end of the day. It's just giving you the opportunity to get the buyer.
Yeah. Totally. I think so too. I mean, it's the same with every of the certifying bodies, right? So you just have the platform, you provide some extra trainings or business accelerator programs and so on. But at the end of the day, it's the corporate who needs to decide who they want to buy from, and they have their selection process, evaluation criteria, and you still need to fit. So,
and we've come across so many amazing businesses, so creative entrepreneurs, but obviously they don't have that network. So we're creating that network for them. So, and the corporates need our help because obviously everyone's doing on top of. So now we're just bringing these businesses to them, which is helping them cut up a lot of time. Yeah.
Right. And especially in Germany, Netherlands, and France, where there is not such a big network of diverse-owned businesses overall, right? There are some maybe women-owned businesses, but for other ethnic minority groups, it's not such a big network yet. I mean, there is ETLCC, right? The European LGBT Chamber of Commerce, but also they are still as well at the very beginning. So we're all growing. So one question also about corporates. So how can corporates engage with you if they want to be part of ESDP?
We have 2 different tiers of membership. We can share our contact details also at the end, but they can just get in touch with us. There's a very simple form that they can register as a corporate, and then we pick it up from there. That we set them up. It's a very simple process. We have 2 different tiers, charter membership and regular membership with a different price structure. I don't know if you want us to get into the details of each membership tier, but it's all on our website. So depending on, I guess, the business's ambition and how involved they want to be versus they want more access to the database, or they want to actually get more, play a bigger part in the growth and development of ESDP, one or the other would make more sense for them.
Yeah. And if they want an intro call, they can reach out to Paloma and myself, and happy to take them through, answer any questions.
Perfect.
We definitely want to have a stronger presence in Europe, and that's what's a huge call out to having more European-owned businesses, because that's where we see that the white space and we can really unlock here.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of work for us to do to bring more European corporates on the path of supplier diversity, but together we're stronger, right? So let's keep on going, and I'm sure that we will get to a point where it's not something that people ask, what, supplier diversity, what?
Yeah,
it should be
exactly.
We don't it gets to a point where we say supplier diversity and they don't respond with, oh, we have women on the board.
Exactly. We're doing so much education that we have to explain to people what's the difference between workforce diversity and supplier diversity.
Right. We're good at that though, so we know how to do that, but it would still be great that we don't have to explain it every time we talk about what we're passionate about and what we believe in. So one last thought or something that you want to share with people listening to the podcast.
I would say, if this conversation has sparked any interest in what we're talking about, be curious, ask questions, do research, just be curious to learn more, to question yourself, how you go about doing business in your day-to-day life. How do you make decisions? How inclusive are you in your day-to-day? You know, I think the work we do can be applicable not just for supply chain and the way we're procuring, but also in our everyday life.
Yeah, I think for the corporates, keep questioning your current practices and what changes can you bring there. And I've learned so much on this journey, so it's never ending. So yeah, keep asking questions, reach out to us. Happy to support you on this journey.
Thank you so much. And I love, your last comments, and I totally agree. I'm also thinking about, it's not just about corporates, right? It's about every individual, what we buy on a daily basis, and just being also curious, because many people who are not in procurement and I talk to and I say, so what is your company buying? Well, we're not buying anything. We don't need anything. We're not producing anything. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you're buying something in your company. So that's always also very interesting.
Also, don't just assume EMBs are small businesses that are going to do your catering. I can tell you, there's so many tier one suppliers out there, so change your mindset of what ethnic minority businesses are.
Yeah. So Lushentha and Paloma, thank you so much. As always, right? It was a pleasure talking to you, and it was great to hear about ESDP's, great success of launching certification in Germany, Netherlands, and France. And I'm really much looking forward on what's coming, how we can together also bring supplier diversity closer to European corporates, and hopefully do some more collaboration in the coming years. And thank you so much for being my guest.
Certainly. Thank you for having this platform and allowing us to share what work we're doing. We appreciate that.
Really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Now, if you want to make your supply chain more inclusive, reach out via fipsconsulting.com or Fips Consulting on LinkedIn. And if you want to know more about ESDP and also how you can become a member or get self-registered, you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn or fipsconsulting.com, and I can happily connect you with the ladies on the podcast. Listen to my next episodes where I talk with more experts about supplier diversity and inclusion and the impact on their business. Contact me if you have any topics or inputs around supplier diversity and engagement that you would like me to talk about. Thanks much for listening, and bye, diverse all.